In this video, we're going to be referring back to our how to make wargame strain. This time we're going to make some L-shaped corner ruins using 90s techniques, but in 10th ed or later 40k. And not much has changed, to be honest, and well, we'll go through it. For this project, you're going to need a hot glue gun, a Stanley blade, a sharp pencil, but the most important thing is picking the right kind of cardboard. The cardboard you're going to want is this type, which is layered. This is 2-layer or 2-wall, double wall. You can also get tri-wall, which is even sturdier. This is about 8mm thick and perfect for building a corner or L-shaped ruin once we've reinforced it and everything else. But this is the best stuff to get. Your thinner cards or even single wall corrugated isn't going to last too long. If you refer back to our book, it'll say you need to measure it out and plan it and all these sort of things. So let's get the dimensions right. So I'm going to refer to the Pariah Nexus Tournament Companion. And it's got a few different sizes. Once you've selected which corner ruin size you want to do, I've picked 5 inches by 6 inches. You're going to want to mark down those measurements on a scrap piece of card. Now, what you might find super useful is a large cutting mat with imperial measurements on it. So there's 0, and there's my 6. I'm going to want to remove all of this, which is why I haven't started at the very edge. This will not look good when we're finished. And then it's a case of marking a square edge off. For that, you're going to use a large engineer square, like so. But completely understandable if you don't have one. Instead, you could use a large hardback book from Games Workshop, and I'm sure you have one of these somewhere. We're only using pencil, so you can remove the lines easily enough. And that will give you a really good square, all things considered. With your parallel lines in place, you're going to want to use a Stanley knife to cut these pieces out. Try to be as precise as you can, but it's not the end of the world if you get this bit a little bit wrong. So if you notice when I did that, it was one long continuous cut. It wasn't very deep, it's more of a score line. Now the next time I pass the knife through it, it will know its path, its channel to cut. Right, that cut quite nicely through the inner wall, and now we're going to go through the far side. Keep that piece, it might be useful. Then we'll repeat it here. We now have a 6-inch square cut piece of cardboard. And we also have it in 3 sections because of this fold. What might be a good idea to do is just mark your datum edges, your straight edges. I mark there and on the creases because I'm actually going to cut these creases out because these won't be very much good for our model. Okay. Using an engineer square or your book. I'm just going to remove these. But we now have 3 pieces. These will all form one side of our L-shaped ruin. This will be a slightly taller piece. These will be shorter pieces. All I'm going to do is draw a wavy line from this corner to this corner. A bit like that. Doesn't have to be precise. We're just sort of getting a feel. Remembering our datum edges. And using a Stanley knife, we're just going to cut irregular, jagged lines through it. That's one set. Do that on the other 2, or however many you're making. With those cut up, we'll repeat exactly the same, but this time for the 5-inch wall segments. With both walls now cut out, we have a 6-inch wall and a 5-inch wall, and we're going to stick them together. Now, the smarter among you may have noticed that, well, surely if we glue them end to end, well, that one's now going to be longer than 6 inches. Well, I have thought of that, and here we go. On the longer of the 2 sections, so the 6-inch section, I have a scrap piece of cardboard. I'm just going to use that as a measurement, like so. my trusty square out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to score and then cut through the first and second layer, but not the third. I have not cut through this, and I have cut through both of those layers. And then I'm going to run the Stanley knife down that wall I did not cut, all the way down. I'm going to remove that corrugated bit of card. And with that piece trimmed off, the shorter section will sit inside it. And we can see there, it's perfectly 6 inches long. This has the added benefit, not leaving a corrugated cardboard edge when they're glued together. Because I think you'll all agree, it looks far superior to this. With that channel cut out for the other wall to sit in, grab your hot glue gun and just run a bead in there. And then pop in the other wall section nice and tight and let it air dry or cool down. If you want to get it perfectly straight, again, get your old Citadel books out. That's perfect. Just leaving them be and letting them cool down in the right place. Once the glue's cooled down and everything's nice and secure, what I'll do is I'm going to roughen up these textures on the edges because this should be a ruin and this looks very square cut and manufactured. It's just a simple case of running across it with a Stanley knife, just cutting little chunks out all the way around and on both sides. Do that all the way around, we'll jump back in. And there you can see all of those edges have been roughed up. Looks a bit more ruined now. To add another level of detail to your ruined building, you can take old sprues, cut them up into little sections like this, and then the little pockets in the corrugated card are perfect for wedging them into. Just use a little hot glue to hold it in place. Push them in, and these will look like reinforcing bars on your ruin when the walls collapsed and these have been left standing. So add as many or as few as you like. You've added the little sprues as some extra details or not, but we'll still always be left with this exposed cardboard. What you can do is use some pre-mixed filler and just go around the edges and add it in. I'm using an old scrap of plasticard for this. Quite a messy job, well worth it. Try not to get any on the cardboard, so the walls. I'm just going to try and force it in. Okay. Do that. Fill up those gaps. You've added the little sprues as some extra details or not, but we'll still always be left with this exposed cardboard. What you can do is use some pre-mixed filler and just go around the edges and add it in. I'm using an old scrap of plasticard for this. Quite a messy job, well worth it. Fill up those gaps and let it thoroughly cure for a day or so, because this will take a little while to go off. The plaster's dry, and that's basically all you need to do. I was going to rough up some of it with a hammer. Just adds more texture, makes it look like a ruined building rather than a freshly plastered edge. All I'm going to do now is spray paint it. There's our corner ruin. very basic paint job. So if you can take everything you've learnt from that, just evolve it a little bit more, this will be easy as. So if you remember our casting videos on how to make windows, moulds, and then casting them, I've just done that 4 times and glued the windows on. There was a reason I did it. This detailing here, cereal box packaging, trimmed down to about 20mm. I used a pencil and a straight edge, not these cracked parts, and just pushed firmly in. It was a blunt pencil, so it's just left a line. When this bit gets painted up, you'll be able to see that in more detail. On the edges, I just pushed some rocks in. Actually, this is shattered glass. IKEA used to sell it. I don't know if they do anymore. Again, the cardboard detailing on the inside there. I used that blunt pencil to scribe in tiles for this floor. It's only hot glue gunned in place, but it's sufficient to hold a metal mini in place sturdily enough. The scale's good. Little space marine. To get that 3D printed, that would probably take 48, 78, 72 hours or so. Or to buy it would be very expensive. All you need is some old cardboard that's being thrown away and a few extra little bits for details. And there's a painted ruin. It's very simple, dark grey followed by light grey and some red panelling and a bit of graffiti there. A little bit of a blood drip. And that's all you need to do. That took minutes to make. It took longer for the paint to dry than most of the construction, and you can easily produce a board of terrain for virtually nothing. There's a modern twist on an old classic. I hope you found that useful, and I'll see you on the next one.